So in this video we're going to be doing a little bit of practice with significant figures, and these questions are going to be pertaining to rules on your Fall 2016 edition General Chemistry 1 workbook. So go ahead and get that out and turn to page 20. I'll give you a couple of moments to pause the video and get that out if you don't already have it. Alright, so let's look at these first two numbers right here, 349 and 528. So these two numbers are going to pertain to the first rule, which reads, all non-zero digits are significant. Okay? So for example, 3 is not 0, so that's significant. 4 is not 0, and 9 is not 0. All three of those numbers are non-zeros, so they are going to be significant. So right here we can label 349 as having three significant figures. Alright? So 528, 5 is not 0, 2 is not 0, and 8 is not 0. Which means 528 has three significant figures. Alright? So those are not too hard. They're pretty obvious. Just anything that's not a 0 is going to be significant in your answer. Alright? So let's go and look at rule number 2. Zeros between non-zero digits are significant. Okay? So right here we see that 2 is non-zero, 7 is not 0, and 6 is non-zero. Alright? So zeros are not always significant, so we have to determine when they are. So the rule says zeros between non-zero digits are significant. Okay? So this 0 is between the 7 and the 2, which are non-zero digits. So this 0 should be significant according to this rule. Alright, so this 2076 number should have four significant figures. Alright, now the next number, 6001. So we have a 6 over here that's not 0, and 1 over here that's non-zero. So that means that both these zeros in here should be significant because they're in between the 6 and the 1. Alright, so that 6001 figure should have four significant figures. Now let's look at 2016. So the 2 is not 0, the 1 is not 0, and the 6 is not 0. So those three are for sure going to be significant. Alright, and according to this rule, the 0 should also be significant because it's between the 2 and the 1. Alright, so 2016 also has four significant figures. 1305. So the 1 is not 0, the 3 is not 0, and the 5 is not 0. This 0 should also be significant because it's between the 3 and the 5, which are both non-zero digits. So this number has four significant figures. So 6.022. Now, you may ask yourself, does this decimal change anything? Well, the answer is no. You still have a 6 and a 2 that are non-zero. It doesn't matter if there's a decimal point on either side of the 0. It still counts towards that rule. Alright? So this number, if you may have guessed, should have four significant figures. Alright? Now, the same rule applies here. This decimal point does not change anything. Alright? Other than the value of the number. But as far as significant figures, it has no effect. Alright? This 1 is going to be significant. So is the 8. And because these are two non-zero digits, any 0 in between them should be significant. Alright, so all four of these zeros are going to be significant. Okay, so this number 1.00008 should have six significant figures. Alright, now ask yourself, for this 0.0821 number, is there a non-zero digit to the left of these zeros to count as a non-zero digit? And the answer is no. Alright, so since there's no number over here, these zeros right here are not going to be significant. So the only significant figures in this number are 8, 2, and 1. Alright? So there's three significant figures here. And the way you could also quiz yourself on these is to think about how you would write this in scientific notation. Alright? So usually you would just put 8.21 times 10 to the negative 2, right? Well, would you ever write 008.21 times 10 to the negative 2? No, right? Those zeros are insignificant. They have no effect on the value of this number. Okay? Therefore, we would not write them in our answer. Alright? So use that as a little help, as a little guideline, I guess, to help you with determining whether or not zeros are significant. Okay? Now let's look at the next group of numbers. Alright? So these three numbers down here are going to be pertaining to the third rule on page 20 of your workbook. which reads, for a number less than 0, all digits to the right of the first non-zero digit are significant. Alright, so we see right here that 4 is the first non-zero digit, which means that any number after that 4 are going to be significant. Doesn't matter what number they are, whether they're non-zero or 0, they are going to be significant. Alright, so this number should have 4 significant figures. And the same thing with the scientific notation rule. Would you ever write 004.005 as a significant or a scientific notation for this value? No, right? You would just write 4.005 times 10 to negative 2. Sorry, forgot the 10. Alright, so those zeros are not significant because they have no effect on the value of this number. Okay, so let's look at the next number right here. So this is the first non-zero digit, so anything after that is going to be significant, right? So which means this 0.1200 number has 4 significant figures. Okay, what about this 0.400? Okay, well this 4 is non-zero, right? Which means these two zeros are going to be significant because they're after the 4. So this value has 3 significant figures. Okay, so now let's look at the last rule down here. So we see the last rule is going to be pertaining to rule number 4, which reads, for a number greater than 0, all digits to the right of the decimal are significant. Okay, so right here we see, so 8,310.00, that is much bigger than 1, right? Or 0, that's the rule. It is much bigger than 0, right? So all digits to the right of the decimal place are going to be significant. Now, can we classify this as non-zero? Yes, as significant? Yes, we can, because it's after the non-zero digits. So 8, 3, and 1, they're all non-zero digits. So anything after to the right of a non-zero digit is going to be significant, right? And you can use this. You can use it as a general rule of thumb. If you see a 0 after, or more specifically to the right of a non-zero digit, it is going to be significant, right? So this number should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 significant figures. Okay. And just so you guys know, if you guys were going to write that into scientific notation, you would have to include those 3 zeros. Okay, so this number would be written as 8.31000 times 10 to the times 10 to the positive 1, 2, 3. Alright, and it is necessary for you guys to write those zeros after the 1. Okay, so what about this 927.0000? Alright, so these are after the decimal point, making them significant, correct? So this value should have 7 significant figures. Now, the last value. This is after the decimal point, so this 0 should be significant, and so should these 3 because they're after the first non-zero digit. So in total, this number has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 significant figures. Right? So I hope you guys enjoyed that video, and I hope you guys found it helpful. Thank you for watching.